Good evening, Willow Grove United Methodist Church and friends. This evening is Holy Thursday, April the 9th, 2020, and it is an evening like no other. Often when we would be gathering on Holy Thursday, we would gather at this time in the evening, perhaps a little bit before, and we would gather together in the space of our worship space, which on this evening often feels much different. For me as a young child, this particular service became one of my favorite services. It was a service that always felt quite different. Perhaps the most obvious reason being is that it wasn't during the daytime. It wasn't during the daylight. Gathering in our regular worship space and doing so in an evening just felt different. But not just that. The scriptures that we hear on this evening and the message that we hear is challenging in a way that they are not in quite the same way on other Sundays or other gathering times as a congregation. In these evenings, we hear of the passages that are perhaps the most challenging to us, as they also invite us and help us to understand God's grace the most as well. There are three particular parts that I always think about being a part of this service. The parts that are Jesus with the disciples, finding the upper room, gathering together, and celebrating the first meal that will become for us the Lord's Supper, the celebration of the Passover, but the invitation by Jesus to remember and to imagine this and do this in the future in remembrance of Him. He is giving new meaning to the Passover meal for those that have followed him and those that will come. It is also a time when we see in the Gospel of John that he washes the disciples' feet, and in so doing takes on the role of the most humble of servants. He has done something that is completely unimaginable in taking on that role, but also showing us what it means to be his disciple and to be one that is, in fact, a servant leader. But then, as we continue into the evening, as he shares that there is one that will betray him, and as we move into the time in the garden, we hear the challenge that comes to each of us, and then even the time when they take him away. It is, as the service gets darker, the tone of the hymns that is offered challenge us. But perhaps for me, the most powerful moment is that which comes at the very end of the service. The service ends often in silence, but also ends with the stripping of the altar. If you have never seen this particular service, or you have never perhaps had this unique experience, for me as even a young child, it struck me because of the visual impact that it has. Our spaces are decorated with colorful paraments, with flowers, with candles, with a Bible that is often read from, but also one that perhaps was given to the congregation and has some significance. To see all of these holy items removed from the sanctuary and to see it as a space that is in no way marked by the faith or by the people who have practiced faith there, well, it's really quite powerful. This evening we have been stripped even from that practice. I would like to offer a hymn in just a few moments, one that is often played on this evening and invites that particular consideration. But first I would like to begin by sharing these moments from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 26. Then Jesus went with them to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." He took with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee and began to be grieved and agitated. Then he said to them, "I am deeply grieved, even unto death. But remain here and stay awake with me." And going a little farther, he threw himself on the ground and he prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Yet not what I want, but what you want." Then he came to the disciples and he found them sleeping, and he said to Peter, "So, could you not stay awake with me 1 hour? Stay awake and pray that you may not come into the time of trial. The spirit is indeed willing, but the flesh is weak." Again he went away for a second time and he prayed, My Father, if this cannot pass unless I drink it, your will be done." Again he came, and he found the disciples sleeping, for their eyes were heavy. So leaving them again, he went away, and he prayed for a third time, saying the same words. Then he came to the disciples, and he said to them, "Are you still sleeping and taking your rest? See, the hour is come. The hour is at hand. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Get up. Let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand."